All right, can we just get real for a minute about something that's been absolutely driving me crazy? How did we get here where people are so quickly reduced, judged, and categorized almost entirely by their political affiliation? Somewhere along the way, it feels like we decided that a single vote, cast once every 4 years, now defines someone's entire character, and honestly, that just doesn't sit right with me. When I meet someone and decide whether I like them, respect them, or even want them in my life, it is never, and I mean never, based on how they voted. That is often one of the very last things on my mind, if even on my mind at all. I'm far more interested in who they are as a person. How do they treat others? Whether they're kind, honest, thoughtful, curious, hardworking, loyal, or generous. Whether they show up when it matters. Whether they listen, and whether they care. People are not one dimensional, and life certainly isn't that simple. I'm not naive. I do understand that political beliefs are often tied either directly or indirectly to someone's principles and their values. Of course they are. But a vote does not capture the full complexity of a person's life, experiences, beliefs, priorities, or even motivations. It doesn't account for upbringing, faith, family, responsibilities, financial realities, personal struggles, or lived experiences that really are what defines us. It doesn't reflect the nuances in life, and it certainly doesn't tell the whole story. What's especially frustrating to me is how aggressively a relatively small, but don't be mistaken, very loud segment of our society seems determined to create two opposing sides and pit them against one another. That's what's happening, and I find it exhausting. Not only is it disheartening for the sheer act of it, but I genuinely miss the days when people could disagree politically and still be friendly, or even friends. Oh my gosh. When debate didn't automatically turn into character assassinations, when having a different opinion didn't mean you were labeled as ignorant, evil, selfish, or the problem. The name calling, the sweeping generalizations, and the instant assumptions I hear from both sides are just driving me insane. Somewhere along the way, we stopped listening and started yelling. We stopped being curious and started being combative. We stopped looking for understanding and we started looking for reasons to dismiss one another. And this isn't theoretical for me. I had a client last year who somehow inferred how I might have voted and quite literally told me they wanted nothing to do with me because of it. That moment genuinely blew my mind. This was someone who had previously told me on multiple occasions how much they felt we had in common. And they were right, we did. Shared values, shared priorities, shared perspectives on life, family, and work and goals. All of that was instantly erased over an assumption tied to a single issue and one narrow slice of life. That, to me, is the most troubling part of our current climate. It takes otherwise reasonable, thoughtful, delightful people and pushes them into extreme opposition based on differences that have been exaggerated, oversimplified, and endlessly replayed. It turns nuances into noise and complexity into conflict. Maybe I'm idealistic, I'll own that, but I also walk the talk. I actively choose to see people as more than a label. I choose to look for connection points instead of fault lines. I choose to believe that disagreements don't have to equal disrespect and that differing perspectives can coexist without hostility. I just wish we spent more time focusing on all the things we might have in common, our shared humanity, our desire for safety, opportunity, fairness, family, purpose, rather than allowing one area of life to become so divisive that it eclipses everything else. So, how do we get back to sanity? Maybe it starts with slowing down before we judge, asking questions instead of making assumptions, remembering that most people are doing the best they can with the information and experience they have, accepting that disagreements is not a threat. In fact, I find it wildly stimulating, and choosing consciously not to let politics become the filter through which we see everything and everyone, because people are more than a vote, and we're losing something important when we forget that. Thanks for letting me share. As you can tell, this is something I've been thinking about for a long time, And again, where we're at to me is just unacceptable. So, whether I voted the same as you or different, I hope that you'll take the time to get to know me and that whatever that vote was usually multidimensional. Whether we agree for why I voted or didn't vote a certain way, it's usually a thoughtful endeavor that is about trying to take all of the information and pick a path that at least closely aligns with it. It doesn't mean that every politician that I vote for is exactly the way I think about things. So again, I encourage everybody to have better tolerance and certainly have a wonderful year ahead.